If I had 12 months
I
to
would
live,
go
I
to
would
Gatlinburg, Hilton Head,
travel
North
the
Carolina.
world, skydive.
I would just play paintball.
There's a quote that inspired me for this trip. It's from Braveheart. It goes, "Your heart is free. Have the courage to follow it." And it comes from a scene where Braveheart, when he was 10 or 11, his father dies in battle, and his uncle comes to take care of him. And they prepare his father's body for burial, and the night before they bury him, his father comes to Braveheart, William Wallace, in a dream, and he says to him, "Your heart is free. Have the courage to follow it." So when I hear that quote, "Your heart is free, have the courage to follow it," I think, well, what if I really felt like and believed that my heart was truly free and I had the courage to follow it? What would I do? And so that led me to this project, this 12 Months to Live project, and dreaming up what I might do each month if I only had 12 months left. This 12-month project, I call it 12 Months to Live. What would you do if you had 12 months to live? Kind of developed out of a mid-life career transition for me. And I actually, when I was back in college, I went to Miami University, and I had always wanted to be a medical doctor or a sports physician of some kind. And when I was in college, I decided to change that to international studies and become a missionary. But somewhere along the way, after going to graduate school and after getting my doctorate in counseling, I ended up working in a college as an administrator and as a professor. And after 13 years of that, and telling students, encouraging students to pursue their passions, I got to the point where I felt like, if I'm telling people this, I need to continue to kind of I need to practice what I preach. And so that's what led me to take a 2-year break and dream up this 12-month project. I really wanted to pursue some developing passions for film and for writing. And this project was one way that I could accomplish many things and travel around the world at the same time. So I contacted a friend who works in Michigan on film. He's a producer. And I asked him if I could just kind of be behind the scenes with him and see how a movie was made. And he invited me to participate, actually, to be on the crew. And I was able to do what's called an EPK, or an electronic press kit. And it's something that goes in the special features. You interview the cast and characters. Each month of this 12 months, I had a theme related to an overarching theme of how people figure out their lives. For this month, it was within the Hollywood, LA kind of theme, acting up. And there are many aspects of film. You hear people kind of saying they can do things when they can't really do things, like play a certain kind of character or do something with sound or video. And I felt like that very much. I'd never had a professional job as a filmmaker behind the scenes, but I had to act as if I knew what I was doing. And many people that I talked to on the set had gotten roles or spots in film by just basically lying and saying they could do something they really couldn't. So that's kind of what I learned about. The next month, when I was in Michigan working on the film, I just started to put some other things in place and for the next 12 months. And each month kind of took on a life of its own. I just emailed the monastery that I wanted to go to for the month of August and just asked if I could spend a couple weeks in a retreat and then also working with the monks. And it's something I'd always wanted to do as well, just spend time reflecting and in silence and prayer and working within a monastery. So I went to Kentucky to a Trappist monastery for the month of August. for 2 weeks, and the first week was spent in silence, and that has its own challenges. It's a really strong contrast to the month before of an LA, Hollywood kind of mindset of acting up and very fast-paced, and so the monastery was kind of the opposite of that, in silence. And so the first week was pretty much spent in my room, in this cell that they call the rooms. They're pretty bare, not much there, no TV, no air conditioning, just kind of basics. This is my cell, and I am sweating because there's no air conditioning in my cell. The goal is, as you spend time in silence, you hear things from God or from within yourself that make it easier to hear what your heart might be telling you, what God might be telling you. So that was my month of August. For September, I flew out to Washington State and spent 2 weeks in the Seattle area and then into the mountains and the Cascades. And like I said, each month took on a life of its own and had a theme related to this bigger picture theme of figuring out your life. And so this month of September, I chose an organization called Rite of Passage Journeys. And they helped people midlife or any transition within their life go through a ritual, a Native American tradition called a vision quest. And it involves a few days of preparation, and then they send you out into the wilderness for 3 days on your own to fast for 3 days and 3 nights. So they teach you kind of basic survival skills, how to set up a tarp and how to take care of yourself in the elements, and then they send you out. So you're alone for 3 days and 3 nights, no food, just water. And you're kind of confined within this space of about 20 feet in diameter for 3 days. And you just sit there, and the goal is to pray for a vision, to seek the universe, to seek God for a vision for your life. And so that's what I did for the month of September. So for October, I took off to Santa Fe, New Mexico, to the Outside Magazine headquarters. Then after spending a few months in the States traveling around, I decided to start my global adventure. And I wanted to hit as many continents as possible, and I knew I wanted to circumnavigate the globe, go all the way around the globe without backtracking. But the first few months, I just wanted to kind of get a feel for being overseas, so I went off to Africa for the month of November and spent time in a mission called The Shop. And a friend of mine grew up on the mission field, speaks 5 languages, and started this mission to help the young men and women of Senegal. It's a very poor country, and there's 45% unemployment, and so he really feels strongly about trying to help the people, actually people he grew up with, so they're like brothers and sisters to him. And he started this shop, which they make djembes, drums, and they do high-quality pens and purses and textiles. And so I wanted to learn how to play and make a djembe when I was there. And I also, in exchange for kind of a place to stay and for food, I agreed to help them with the music video. Some of the guys that work at the shop are musicians, and so they had this song that they wrote and played, and I helped them transform that into a music video when I was there. And the theme for me that month had to do with finding a new rhythm in life, and it's never too late. So to learn how to play, I was wrestling with whether or not I could, as a white man, learn how to play a djembe. But I made some progress. I can't say that I'm that good, but I did make more progress than I expected. And so it is possible to learn a new rhythm in life and a new way of life. And that was my goal. The last 3 months, April, May, and June, I really wanted to do something that would challenge me physically and emotionally and spiritually. So I knew that I wanted to travel for 3 months straight, to just be on the road overseas. And I knew that I wanted to do something physically challenging. And so I decided to go to Greece and Turkey for the first month of April, and went with my sister and my niece. And the goal there was to kind of retrace some of our ancestral roots, and ended up in Turkey and went to a small village where my grandfather came from. He's Greek, but he came from Turkey, and he took his journey to the States when he was 16. And so I wanted to kind of see where he was from and see if I could find any kind of record or relatives that were still around. And was able to hook up with some folks there, and didn't find any official records, but I found the village where most of the Greeks lived, and so I was able to walk the streets of the village and kiss the ground and take dirt and just feel a sense of peace about it all, that I'm connected to something greater than myself. And so that's really what I felt. Just I felt a grounding in that environment that gave me kind of a sense of peace and comfort and what I was doing. I wanted my last month to be kind of the capstone of the whole experience. So my goal was to go into the outback of Australia, to get lost in the northwestern part of Australia, and to meet up with some Aboriginal communities and film and ask them questions about their culture. But didn't quite work out that way. I was able to meet some Aboriginal communities and people, but it was in the suburbs, not in the outback. And so it wasn't really what I was hoping for, which became the lesson for me for that month. And it helped me to realize that not getting what I want sometimes in life may be the first step in understanding my calling and helping other people get what they need in life. And so that was an important lesson, especially to finish, that my life isn't just about meeting my own needs. And whatever I decide to do with the rest of my life, I hope, and maybe plan for it to be about helping others as much as it is about helping myself and getting what I want out of life. So that was a great way to end it, and I'm glad that it happened that way. So I guess one of the most important lessons for me on a feeling level was I felt more grounded. Especially when a few things that helped with that was the vision quest that I did in the wilderness. Just being out in the elements on your own and being able to survive that really gives you a sense of accomplishment and a sense of grounding. And grounding to the earth, that there's something kind of you can't really explain, but something that happens when you're out on your own in the wilderness for a period of time, and you get a sense of who you are in that environment. The next kind of place that I felt that grounding was when I was in Turkey, and going back to be close to where my grandfather came from, and that connection to this long history of who I am and who my people are. That was a grounding kind of feeling as well. And then just finishing the 12 months, coming back to the States and having time reflect and write on my experience, there was a great sense of accomplishment that there are many times, this first 6 months especially, where I just wanted to give up and go back into a normal 9-to-5 kind of existence. But I'm glad I didn't settle for that, and I feel more a strength that I think I have now that I wouldn't have had without this experience. You know, we all have reasons and maybe sometimes excuses, and so my kind of hope and message from my own experience this 12 months is, though it's difficult and though we may fail and make mistakes along the way, I don't think there's anything better than actually believing and following through with you know, the idea that your heart is truly free and that you can take courage and follow it wherever that leads you. And so that's probably the biggest lesson that I got from this, is just the importance of that, and of not only believing it, but actually doing something about it.